What's going on, everybody? It's your host, Ryan Monson, here for another episode of The Library presented by Classic Buffalo, where we actually are sharing everyday people's stories, just like you, about everything from mental health to sports to fashion to blogging to literally anything in the world that somebody wants to talk about. We're going to be sharing it just in an effort to make people feel less alone. You know, we've all gone through something different and we've all gone through something maybe similar. And so we want to share both of those experiences. Today is book 36, where we're interviewing two members from the Archive Collective, which is like a media management company. They're basically like, they manage artists, they manage music people, aka artists. They do like music videos. They even get into fashion and like merchandising. But the two people we're interviewing specifically today are Sam Rowan and Brendan. And they are, one of them is kind of like my age, and Sam, and he's kind of like just getting into film, whereas Brendan is like the absolute hustler, been doing it for years now, but he's like only like in his early 20s. And the dedication that you're going to hear from both of these guys in their pursuit of film, how they view things, the key to creating confidence through content, and a lot of really cool things that even if you don't make film or are passionate about it, I think you're still going to be able to glean some good things from this episode. So without further ado, this is book 36 with Sam Rowan and Brendan Baar from the Archive Collective. Welcome to the podcast. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Yo.
We've got Brendan, aka Brandon, actually Brendan with 3 N's. And we got Sam on the mic. What's up, guys? Thanks for having me in your little mansion downtown here. So you guys are both a part of the Archive Collective, is that correct?
That is very correct,
Sir.
If I'm a random person off the street, tell me, what is it about?
Oh, it's about a lot, but at this phase, we're at mainly media production.
Okay.
We've also dabbled in artist management and clothing, brand development, just your typical media stuff, I guess.
Highlight is visuals, but
For sure.
we like it. Dipping our toes in
Multiple different markets.
Right. What's your favorite part of, because this is multiple people, not just you two, but what's your favorite part about being a part of this media company, I would say? Because you guys are also pretty young, so you're also the company is relatively young, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, the company is just, it's about a year and a half old.
Yeah.
But my favorite part, I would say, is just knowing that our vision's different, and I don't know other people's visions, but it's big. And it works, it makes sense, it's kind of nice to I used to have a lot of ideas that didn't really pan through the way that I wanted them to, and this is one of the first ones that actually made sense on paper and is starting to come together.
Yeah.
So I think just looking at that and seeing that is probably my favorite part.
Was there a specific moment when you realized, hey, I need to start the archive? I need to start this thing?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say there's just a moment for it, but it was
a lot of talks with Luke.
Yeah, I mean, it was supposed to be just kind of we were trying to think of cool names, because I did video and Luke and I traveled together a lot, and Luke Wolf was my best friend, and he has been since high school. And we both we come from a small town called Martinsville, Indiana. There's only 17,000 people there, and people really just don't do much there. A lot of people don't make it out. They'll go to college and they'll just come right back. And we're a little bit different, so we were always kind of trying to find creative ways to make money. And we were traveling a lot and doing stuff together. And we just, one day we were like, hey, we should make some clothes. And so we made custom shirts that were, just we had. And then we were like, well, shirts don't really make sense right now, but what if we start shooting videos for people? Because I was already doing it and Luke was traveling with me, and we're like, let's just make cool YouTube videos that document our experience. And then after that, I kind of started getting into the monetization of it and networking. And in the past year, I would say my networking is just exponentially grown, just by knowing a couple people. I've been introduced to so many amazing, like you, I never would have known you if it hadn't been for going to that event at the artistry and stuff like that. So,
is that where you two met at the?
Yeah.
Really?
That's right. Yeah, at the apartment complex. Yeah.
So, But it's cool. So no, I guess there wasn't one specific moment, but it was kind of like it was a long time coming. You know, we'd had failed ventures before, and this was like, all right, like let's do this.
Yeah.
But it was easier too because like I already liked doing video. It wasn't like I had to learn to do something that I didn't like, but I didn't know anything about clothing, and now it's to the point where we're potentially going to start designing and making clothing for like a pretty big artist. So that's kind of still in the works. So I don't want to touch too much on that. But
top secret.
Yeah.
Okay. Man.
Yeah. How did Luke feel about it? Because did he have much experience with video at that time?
No, yeah. So Luke was kind of just there. I mean, Luke's probably been responsible for most of my growth as like a person. You know, he's just kind of always. Everything's a contest, and to some people that's not healthy. And for a while, like we would get into it, but it's like he's my best friend because like we can sit there and have such strong opinions about something, and we'll argue, and then immediately when we're done, like it's just like nothing happened. But I mean, he kind of knew that he was not an expert in video, but he was more just like along for the ride, and he was going to see where it took us. And I mean, we're here. He took over the reins for a while. A lot of the people in the company, there were at one time as many as like 15 to 20 people that were a part of it, and we all kind of went our separate ways because nobody was taking it that seriously. And then Luke kind of helped hold things together and kept us, doing something. And we focused on weddings for a while, and that's really when he was doing probably 90% of the work, booking wedding expos and reaching out to people and redesigning our Facebook page. So he's always had more of an executive kind of back end role, but now it's been more of a front end thing. So
yeah, he puts in the work.
Yeah. Sam, you mentioned that you were like kind of putting a lot of your extra time and effort into the Archive Collective company. Like, are you like kind of happy with your time distribution with like, because I think you had kind of like a 9 to 5, but then like in your spare time, like you're putting it into, like where are you at with that? Like,
yeah, I like it a lot more than I used to, because for a long time, what I would do is after 5 o'clock, I would start watching like tutorials.
Yeah.
I'd watch YouTube, or I had a couple lynda.com descriptions. There was quite a few different like ways where I'd learn how to do it. It just depended. But yeah, so I would do all these tutorials, and in college I was really into video, and I knew it was something I wanted to consistently do in some way.
Yeah.
And so I started going through different programs. First it was, I'd say the first thing was like I had a Sony Ericsson.
Okay.
And I used the little editing program on the Sony Ericsson cell phone.
Wow.
So that was a throwback. And then eventually my friend got a GoPro, and it came with like GoPro Studio, and I was able to start editing with all that stuff. And that's when I really was like, this could get really cool.
Right.
And then after that, I had a Adobe subscription.
Yeah.
And that came with Premiere, and Premiere is like the next level for that to me. And so I got pretty good at Premiere, and then eventually I got to After Effects, and that's surprisingly what Brendan focuses on the most.
Yeah, which is actually it's kind of funny too, because I want to kind of mention a little bit about like my backstory with video.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
So it's like I used to be a huge Call of Duty nerd. I people made Call of Duty montages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was called trick shotting, and I was like super into it when I was started in like 7th, 8th grade. I was super into online video games, and that was like most of high school. Yeah. And it's also funny too, because like when I was a little kid and I'd hear songs, like I'd always picture like me doing slow motion stuff or like people that I know to videos, but I didn't actually ever make the connection until I started doing video. That's like, oh, shit, I used to do that. But with the Call of Duty thing, I'd sit in my room for hours, like literally hours. That's all I did. I didn't, I was not a social person at all. I was honestly kind of a recluse. Like I didn't get out and meet people. Yeah. I honestly wasn't that confident of a person either, but we would like record ourselves playing Call of Duty, and then people would like edit the videos and make them look cool. So that's actually, I started learning on After Effects. There's After Effects and then Sony Vegas, because I don't even know if Premiere was around then. Like if it was around, nobody was using it. It was either Sony Vegas or After Effects, but everyone used After Effects because you could do so much more with it. So it's like my parents, I remember you need to get out and do stuff. That's never going to be relevant. You're never going to use that. And they're talking about, obviously I'm sitting in my room. I'm editing videos like Call of Duty. I wasn't even super into it. I just recorded more and like I knew people who edited it, but I became a little bit familiar with it just based off like free trials. And it was just something to do. But, fast forward and now I'm legitimately like further ahead of where a lot of other creators are just because I know how to use After Effects, and it's like, that's my stomping grounds. Like, that was me in middle school. So it's like.
So you got a subscription in middle school?
I didn't pay for it. What I would do is I downloaded a free trial, and like everything I know is like.
Just a bunch of emails?
No, like
you only get like a month, don't
exactly.
you?
Yeah. So I learned literally, I would download it once a year. And I had it over the course of like 3 years, I had the programs probably 3 times. If my homies would download it, I'd go over and edit and mess around. But it wasn't.
What drives both of you to be in the creative and video field? Because it's like, for you, like one of my questions would be like, were you happy in being in your room? Because some people like, you can't be happy, you're introverted, you're like staying to yourself. But from your perspective, it could be like, I'm doing something I like, which is video games, but then I'm also like adding the creative element and editing. Like, how does that, like, how do you both see filming?
I always liked music, and so video to me has always been a way to enhance music. The edits that you can do now, especially with all the different programs, they allow you to really transform the videos you get and the moments you get and capture them in a way that it almost highlights the moment more than reality, if that makes any sense to me or to you. You basically, you capture something that somebody already loves, and then you tweak it so much and sync it with the music so much that it gets even better. And that was always amazing to me. And then being able to share that with other people and see their reactions, especially if it was stuff that they didn't even realize like was recorded.
Right. Just
that really candid stuff of them just laughing hysterically about something. That feeling you get from sharing that with other people is amazing to me. And that's really what kept me going consistently, because every time I'd make a video, people would be amazed, and I'd be like, this isn't even that good yet.
Right.
I could have spent 8 more hours on there. And so every video I felt like, obviously not every single one, but typically they'd get better and better and better, and that would just consistently bring me back to like make it even more cool.
Yeah, so like, to kind of touch on that, because I'm going to start first. You were asking about like my room, like if I'm sitting in my room, like how did I feel in that time or whatever. And I think that it's really interesting because, and this is kind of abstract, so I'm not going to get too into it, but it's like, I feel like everything that you go through in life is supposed to like teach you something, and that's the way that I look at things. Even when like bad things happen, you can ask, why is this happening to me? But it's like, there are all these things that I thought for the longest time just had like no relevance. So like, I played guitar since I was in 3rd grade, but it's like, I don't play guitar all the time now, but I still know how to do it. And it's like, even though I didn't become a musician, I can still relate to people. I can still have conversations with people, which allows me to like, sell videos or just relate to people on another level. And it's the same thing like skateboarding. I have a little bit of a background in skateboarding. I liked it a lot when I was younger. Cars. I went through a phase for a few years in high school where, my friends had cars, so I ended up buying like a relatively fast car. And so it's like, I can relate to car people and I can relate to all these different people.
Yeah.
Well, video games is just like, it's another way. It showed me a skill that I thought would never be relevant in my life,
Right.
But it's like, I feel like everything you do is like relevant because of the fact that I spent all of that time in my room. A lot of these people who edited Call of Duty videos, when they were done, they started editing real life videos. And so it was like, I started kind of developing, and this ties into, what do I like about video and film. A lot of these people transitioned to real life stuff, and they were going out and doing just amazing things. And so it was like, okay, like these same people that were in the room, they're going out and they're traveling the world. They're taking videos of, musicians and stuff like that. And for a while there was a gap, I was like, oh, I can't do it. Like, what are they doing? Like, I thought there was something that they were doing that was different than what I was doing. And then one day I was like, it's literally no different. They're no different than I am. Like, I have the same ability to do what they did if I decide to do it. But on top of that too, it's the coolest thing in the world to me when you watch a video and you like feel something from it. Like it's not real. It's scripted. It's acting. but you feel something from it. And I'm going to school for media advertising, and we took a class that was like psychology, the psychological reasons that, how videos and just visuals in general, sounds react, and they did a lot of different studies, and it's like people have all of these subconscious like thoughts about sounds, like with computers. Like when you hear a voice from a computer and it sounds like a certain pitch, you assume that the computer is more or less intelligent, and like that whole thing is crazy. Like when something comes out at a screen and flashes, even though it's on a screen, like like yourself, like you can look at the screen right here behind you and nothing's ever going to happen. But it happens so fast biologically, like you have a biological imperative to react a certain way, which is why when things pop up and scare you, your brain can't tell the difference. And like that's the coolest thing to me, because you can watch videos all the time and tell it's a bad video, but when you really create something that's good and you trigger that emotion, like that's what does it for me. And there's like other videos that are cool too, like Gibson Hazard. I don't know if you've seen his videos. Amazing video work, but it happens so fast, like you can't even really tell what's going on, and it just like completely screws with your mind. And I think that's sick too, when you're able to combine things that you see on a daily basis and just do so many different edits to them. You don't even know what's going on. Like, makes you watch it a few times and you're like, okay. And it's one of those ignorance is bliss type deals, because if you don't know, like a lot of these effects, I know how to do it now. So I'll show, I'll take a video of you in slow motion and everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. But it's like, I do it all the time. So for me, it's not that cool. But when you see something in a video and you're like, how do you do this? Like, that's so awesome to me, because it's like, it's
seeing the awe in other people that
exactly.
And I love it when you like can make certain edits and combine them together so much that like people can't tell what actually drove their emotion. It's just like the combination of everything together.
Or when you can take like a principle of like I don't know, photography or something completely unrelated. There's a set way you do something. You're a carpenter and you have a set method of doing something. Well, if you apply a method from something else to video, you can get crazy stuff, and that's one of the cool. Like the more you know about different things, it's like.
So if I'm like, let's say I'm, I don't know, 15 years old, 16, just something young, and I'm passionate about an up-and-coming craft. Like I'm new to whatever I want to try. What's your like recommendation to the person who's starting out at something they just want to dip their toes in, but they might be nervous to start it. Like, oh shoot, I don't want to make videos, because if I make one and it's like terrible, everyone's gonna laugh at me, and like, because it's like everyone remembers the first video they made, right? When you create videos. Like, how did you get over that hurdle, and like, what would be your just tips for like the person who's starting out for the first time in whatever their craft is?
Well, so I would say like the biggest thing would be just fully immerse yourself in it. Really put yourself out there. I mean, you don't
vulnerable, honestly.
Exactly. Like people often forget, like to be successful, you have to fail. Like that's inevitable. You're only a failure if you quit. Because think about it, everyone who's successful always has the same story. Like, they failed and they failed and they failed and they failed and they failed until they didn't. And it's like every failure you learn something from it. So it's the same thing with video. If you make a video, ask people who are going to critique it. You don't want to ask people, if you're trying to get better at something, don't go to yes men. Don't go to people, oh yeah, that's really good. That doesn't help you. I've made videos and people, I don't go and ask people who always like it to critique it, because that doesn't help me get better. You want to get better at everything you're doing. But the coolest thing about getting, doing things that are new is it's so easy to get better, because you're already at the bottom. Like it's you can't get worse. You know what I'm saying? So it's like every day that you don't do it, you're just, prolonging the progress you could have made. Like if you're going to wait till next week, like you have a week's worth of progress that you just delayed on. And so it's like really just forcing yourself to get out there. I truly believe like the best and the most important and rewarding things in life are on the other side of fear. You fear it for a reason. So it's like when you just say, no, I'm not going to let it happen, then it's fun and you enjoy it.
Yeah. Other side of fear. That's good.
I mean,
you got a tattoo of that?
I don't have any tattoos actually.
That's surprising.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like you'd have at least one.
I probably won't ever get one either.
Really?
I mean, my thing behind it is like, you change as a person. So it's like, just because I might like it now doesn't mean I'm going to like it 30 years from now. But not only that, it's like there's nothing in this world that I like enough that I would want tattooed on my body. There's pictures, there's memories, your mind, like you have to look down at your skin. No hate on people who do. There's beautiful artwork, but like in my personal opinion, it's just like
just not for you. Yeah.
That's not for me. So
I waited to get mine until I was like 24.
What'd you get?
So I have it on my wrist that says enough.
Okay.
So it's like the dude was like, you know, it's upside down, right? Like, so technically, because you're supposed to do in quotes, but I'm like, it's for me, so I can read it. And it's like, so in my deepest, darkest point of my life, like, I needed to know that I was enough, period. And that's why there's a period, because there's usually like conditions based on like, oh yeah, you did a good job if you know. But for me, like, my left arm is my weakest limb of my body because I separated it 3 times. So it's like, weakest part of my body. I'm in the weakest part of my life I can think of right now. I need to write this. Like, I'm enough.
See, no, but that's way different than like what a lot of people do, because there's thought and there's actually like meaning behind that. Like that to me is like I shouldn't say acceptable, because that's just not even the right wording. But like, that to me is like dope because there's a story behind it. But I feel like too often people are just impulsive and they're like, oh, I need to get a tattoo, I need to get one, and so they get stuff that's like not, it's just random. Like, there is
intention matters.
Sometimes it can actually fit though. Like, if with certain personality types, I feel like it's like, yeah, they've got random tattoos, it works.
Well, no, and that's why I said, like, everybody's different. Everyone is totally different.
Right. And it's like, it looks good too.
And the other thing too is like, just because I don't agree with it doesn't mean somebody else doesn't like it. You know what I'm saying? You know, we can disagree.
It's part of the reason we get along.
Both live very great lives. You know what I mean? Like, you can live your life one way and I can live mine another, but we can still get along, because like, if that's what works for you, that's cool.
Why do people why do you think people like have to be around yes men all the time?
I genuinely think because at the end of the day, everyone, like, even successful people, like, you do have insecurities, and so when you're around people who positively enforce you, you know, you don't have to reevaluate yourself. You don't have to wonder, like, am I doing what I really want to do, you know? And it's like, that's why a lot of people don't get things done, because they don't have people that push them. They're like, oh, well, you know, I worked 8 hours and I'm kind of tired. I just want to watch some TV. You know, but if you're around people who are no, like, that's not good enough. And so it's almost like you have to be around yes men enough for you to realize your worth, but then after that, you have to be the one to push yourself. Yeah. You know, it's like, if you're like, yeah, you know, you got 2 different friends, right? You got the one who's, hey man, you know, I know you worked all day, but if you want to get where you're going to go, like, you're not doing it. You want people who call you on your shit, because that's going to help you get there. But if you got another friend who's, you know, you're totally right, man, you should just take the night off and just try tomorrow. Like, no, because you're not guaranteed tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Right. And it's like the same thing, too. If you're around yes men and you're really bad at something and you're like, hey, do you guys like this? Oh, yeah, it's great. Well, now you think you're good at something that you're not, and you can't face that reality. And so it's like almost a distorted concept of it. But there's a way to go about it, too. There's a tasteful way. You know, you don't want somebody who's going to shit on you for trying new things. Like, it's cool to fail. Like, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think yes men just, they hinder you. You know, it's like you never get off the training wheels because you're just...
And I think a lot of the problem is actually from, like, it's from the yes men. Like, it's not even from the person who's trying this stuff. Like, it's a lot of times they don't think it's socially acceptable to knock something down, to be different, but say, hey, this doesn't look right.
Well, I mean, even with that too, it's like you got to think about when somebody questions you. You either need to regardless, you need to reevaluate the situation. Okay, well, you know, is this going against what I truly believe in? And that's hard for people to ask themselves sometimes when they're way off topic or way off track in their life. Like, they don't even really know what they believe in anymore. So it's like those are the people who typically surround themselves with yes men. Yeah. Because it's like
you need that foundation.
You need that, yeah, exactly. But it's like if somebody questions anything that I do, the first thing I'm doing is like, okay, hold up. Like, was this something that I screwed up? And then after I thoroughly evaluate it, I'm like, no, like, this isn't me. And it just either reaffirms what I already thought to begin with, or it's like, okay, maybe I should change this. You know, maybe this is and I think there's a really, really bad trend that's going on where people have this idea that, like, they don't need to change anything. You know, like, it's like this almost toxic trait, I think, where it's like, no, I am me and I'm not going to change anything.
Yeah.
Like, how do you grow
accept
if you
me
don't
for
change?
me?
Exactly.
I hate
like
that, dude.
It's like you need to accept me for me, take it or leave it. Well, that's fine, but like you should be worried about and focused on being the best version of yourself.
Yeah, like there needs to be room for like transformation. Like
exactly.
Healthy transformation.
Right. Change doesn't always necessarily mean you're giving up the things that you value the most in life. To me, it's like, especially with relationships too, I feel like oftentimes, if you have bad habits that are actually bad habits and someone wants you to change that, like for your own well-being, you have to be like, okay, is this going to benefit me in some way? And I feel like a lot of the times people don't do that. Now, that's not to say there aren't extremely toxic relationships with friendships, family members, like significant others, because, I mean...
How did you guys audit your circle? I'm curious.
So something that's interesting for me is like I think yes men aren't always bad. Like I'm gonna show you this right now. Like my family when I was growing up, they were always like gassing me up, like making me feel really, really comfortable with myself. And it made me pretty confident. And that helped me kind of defend myself when I eventually ran into people like Brendan who were like, hey, this doesn't look right. And I mean, having that base level of confidence really helped me be more willing to grow and be more interested in saying, like, hey, like, what don't you like about this? Give me, like, a specific example. Like, let me try something different,
Well, I was going to say the other thing, too, because I know what you were asking about, like, our auditing and stuff like that, or just, like, being, checking people in our group. But I would say, too, like, and this is, in my opinion, for me, it doesn't necessarily work for everybody, but I always value people's critique when, hey, what do you think of this video? Well, I don't like this because I think this could change. Like, if you critique something, you have to explain what you don't like and why you don't like it and how you think it could be better. Because otherwise, you can't just, it's like, hey, what do you think of my vintage clothes? My vintage clothing store. It's like, I don't like it. Like, how does that help you? How does that help you?
It's wrong.
You know what I'm saying? Like, or like, hey, what do you think of this clothing design that I made?
Yeah.
I like it. Like,
what do you like about it?
Exactly. Like, how do you know where to improve? Like, do you like, maybe you say you like it because the shirt's soft, but the design sucks. But
like the overall concept's good, but your alignment with the text is off. Like,
exactly. Like, that's constructive criticism. And I feel like a lot of people don't actually know what that means. It's like people automatically get defensive about things that they made, and the funniest thing about it is the people who get the most defensive are the people who put the least amount of effort into it. Because the people who put the most effort into it want the critique because they want to get better. But they don't want to get better for somebody else. They want to get better for them. And, like, that's what truly separates people who are, like, growing and people who are just living.
Right.
Because you can go through stuff or you can grow through stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't even think about, like, auditing the circle, though. Like, I think I naturally kind of attract...
Well, no, I mean, I would totally say, because, like, we've actually, like, there's no lie. We've had issues with people in the past, just not getting stuff done. And it's like, at the end of the day, our goal as a group is to just find people who hold themselves accountable. Because, like, there's two things that I've learned in business and just relationships in general. Well, mainly business relationships. Like, you can't trust anyone, and you have to trust people. And that's extremely contradictory, but what it means to me is, like, you have to find a group of people who have been around people where they've had to carry the weight themselves, and then you can trust those people because they've never been able to trust people before. Like, you can rely on the people that understand that they have to put something on their back to get it done because they know what it takes, and a lot of other people don't. It's like, I can't even tell you how many times I tried to start businesses, projects, ideas with people from my hometown, people in college that just, oh, yeah, I'll do it. There's something that always comes up. Like, people make excuses, and, like, I can't be around people who make excuses. That's not saying that life doesn't happen.
That's not even true, though. Like, you still are around a lot of those
but I'm
people,
saying, like, those
like,
are...
think of it, like, we had shoots this week where people, like, would cancel. Like, we literally bank on some people canceling, other people showing up.
But that's life. What I'm saying is the people that I'm closest with, the people that I'm grinding with, the people that I'm trying to build my business with and, actual longevity with.
Yeah, that's true.
Those aren't the people that are making excuses. Because it's like the other night we had a meeting with Landon, and I was supposed to be off work at 9:30 in Bloomington. This meeting was up in Washington Street, so it's an hour and a half drive from where I work. I got off work, something happened, the technology had a meltdown. I didn't leave work till 10:45. I still drove up there at midnight. And it's like, I told him, I literally texted him, I was like, no excuses. Like, I'm going to be there. I'm not going to make an excuse. Like, I was an hour late. I didn't get home till 3 in the morning, but, like, there's no excuses. Like, if I want to be there, I want to be there. And it's like,
Right.
if I show that effort, I'm gonna either attract people who do, or potentially rub off on somebody at least a little bit, But
yeah. There's just stuff like that, like, I don't know, because I used to edit videos a lot, I doing freelance YouTube stuff, just fun stuff, right? I wasn't trying to monetize it, but like, I remember if there was a project that I was really passionate about, I didn't care if I had to work, the next day, because I have to be up at 7:30, 8, if I want to stay up till 2:30, because I get to watch it be done. I'm like, oh, and it's done, and I get to watch it, and I can't wait until I can't wait until 9 a.m. when you get to show your roommate, like, dude, I just finished this video last night, go check it out. Like, there's something about being able to put in the extra hours when you're super passionate about something like that, like especially on the creative video side.
Well, I mean, not even that. It's like my days, Mondays through Fridays, are horrible. Like I'm a full-time student, so Monday through Friday, I got class until 5 when I go to work, and then I don't get off till 10. Mm-hmm. So from like 9 in the morning to 10 at night, I'm doing school and school and work, and then after that, I get home, I go to the gym. And then I make time to do, talk to people on the phone, network. I do what I can, but it's like the weekends, people are like, why are you always working? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? It's like, it doesn't feel like work. I've been here for over 12 hours today.
Yeah.
And I pulled 14-hour days for the past 2 days before that too.
Is it worth it?
Absolutely. You don't put that much time and energy to things that aren't worth it. Even if it doesn't come to anything, I still gain experience.
Right.
I can still have a conversation with somebody about it. I get it. And that's like something it's different. Not everybody can relate to. And that, to me too, I always try to include people. I don't care if you're not doing what you want to do. I'm going to ask you and try to help you do what you want to do. And if you still decide you don't want to do it, I can't tell you how many people I've said, hey, you should come up and work with me for one day. There's a lot of awesome people that come through here. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it. 90% of the time, they didn't even show up, So it's like I extend the hand and some people still don't take it. So it's like I try to get people to realize like that there's more. But a lot of the times it's like they're stuck in their own head. They're stuck in their own ways. They're like, oh, it's too hard. Yeah. And so it's like when you're sitting here and it's fun that you put in a 14-hour day, like that's the shit you want to do for life. And I hate the concept you got two different concepts that happen. High school is the best time of your life. And college is the best time of your life. That's not the life that I want to live. I'm not trying to,
What happens after that?
Exactly. And, and it's like that was one of the things where my sophomore year, it hit me. I'm like, shit, what am I going to do when I graduate? Like, I don't want to be a sitting duck. Like, I screwed around when I was in school the whole time. But I used to be super upset, too. I didn't live on campus. I actually commute. I've commuted all 4 years at IU. And it's like, even now, I don't live with my parents, but I still live in Martinsville. But being away from campus didn't allow me to get caught up in that college party lifestyle. So instead of going and,
Wait, you go to school at IU?
Yeah.
And you're in Indy right now?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I thought you went to IUPUI.
Nah, man. I'm in Martinsville.
Dude, this is nuts. This is like, I thought you were an IUPUI student, but you're going to IU and commuting up here and working. And,
yeah.
Dude, that's nuts.
Yeah, so he's in between, so he'll go back and forth.
Yeah, I go back and forth from Bloomington. Like, I drove from Bloomington this morning, too. So it's like, but I don't care. It's worth it to me because I'm doing something that I like. And that's why I'm trying to say, like, all these people, in my opinion, and it's not, I shouldn't say all these people, but what I've found from most of the people that I've talked to is that they don't really like what they're doing. They're going to school because, they have this, like, illusion of what's going to happen. They have this fantasy of like what life's going to be like after they're done. Either that or they know it's going to be so bad that they're just getting, belligerently drunk and, taking all sorts of drugs these days. It's not even just like smoking weed. Like people are, popping Molly, LSD, which I'm not saying that I necessarily disagree with that, but it's like when you're skipping class to do coke and to smoke, like there's a problem there. You're paying for an education. You're not paying to party. Yeah. But I look at it like...
Too.
Huh?
You double charge right there.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're paying for an education, get an education, but grind while you're there because if you like what you're doing, it shouldn't feel like work, And I truly...
And there's so many opportunities at IU as well.
Exactly. I mean, there's so many different people. It's just people don't do what they like, which is why they're like, well, I'm just going to, party and then I'm going to hate the rest of my life. Like, why is that a life you want to live? Yeah. I'm grinding now because I like what I do because I want to be able, if I'm hungry, hey, there's this awesome place in New York City. Let's go there tonight for steak. Like, that's the type of of ability and means that I want to do to do things with
Yeah.
people. And it's like, you got people who come in, hey, I have, like you were saying, I have this really awesome idea to help people out with mental health. Okay, well, now I have the means to give you some funding for that. Like, that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's the status and the
Yeah, dude, it's so cool that like
network that I want to have,
Yeah,
Like,
that's so cool. Dude, I'm blowing my mind the fact that you're in Indy, downtown Indy, when we're recording this, and you go to IU and you commute. So on top, dude, I thought you were, yeah. That's like my whole mind just got blown. Sorry, but just like
dude.
the fact that, dude, the fact that you're like at the stage you're at and not out of college, and the fact that you could tell me like in 2 years that you're opening up a candle business, I wouldn't be surprised, and you'd be just as passionate about it. Just because and you'd be like, dude, all of it was preparing me for exactly what I wanted to do. Like, or you're like, I'm gonna start a playground business, or what? Like, it's just because you're.
No, I like the candles. Let's stick with the candles.
Yeah, your mindset of like everything. I'm just gonna do what's in front of me, put my 100% because I'm passionate and like. But then at the end of the day, I could be doing something 180 degrees, and then knowing that in that moment in the future, this is what I think is the best, and all this has been leading to the next moment. Like,
yeah, for sure. But I feel like you have to think like that too. And it's so many times I see people who get on, they'll get on Twitter and they'll tweet about their problems, but like they don't do anything to fix it. And so it's like, when you let life happen to you, it's not a fun time. But when you take on to the opportunities that are in front of you, so many people are worried about getting off path, but they don't even know where they're going.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've been, and this is true, like you're pretty confident or more confident than you were in your past. How did you kind of get there? Because was there certain moments in your life, family situations or whatever, that kind of helped grow your confidence and wanting to like passion and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So it's like I got into photo when I started taking pictures when I was a senior in high school. I wasn't a super confident person. I didn't think that I had anything interesting enough to talk about, because I didn't do anything. I just kind of sat in my room and I played video games. And I had interest, but it was kind of hard for me to go up and ask somebody like, hey, what do you do? Because I knew when they asked what I do, like, I don't do anything, But when I started taking Martinsville's, but I mean, it's true. Like, that's real.
True.
And so it's like, when I was in high school, a lot of people, it was a very judgmental town, and it's everybody knew each other for the most part. My graduating class was like 350 people, but that's still kind of small. It's like 17,000 people. And so when I'm walking around the town square with a camera, everybody's like, whoa, what is it? Because this is pre everybody having a camera. Like, that's common now, but this was back in like 2015. Nobody was really doing it. The people who were doing it, like, you look back and you're like, are you kidding me? This was popular?
Yeah.
And so when I graduated college, it was kind of like, okay, now I don't even see these people on a regular basis. I'm really going to start doing this. And then I started working out more, going to the gym more, and this was when I was really hanging out with my friend Luke all the time and stuff. And we were just pushing each other all the time. Like, I have a pretty solid credit score, and that was because of him. He got a credit card, and he was like, yo, man, I have a better credit score than you. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I got a credit card. It was a contest, but like, what 18-year-old's doing that? You know what I mean? No 18-year-old cares about their credit score, but it was one of those, it was a contest mentality. And
How'd you grow it?
How did you grow it?
Yeah.
So honestly, what I would recommend to everybody is just get a student credit card. If you're in college, get a student credit card, because for the first 12 to 13 months, there's 0% interest. So it's like, don't spend money that you don't have, but for your daily purchases, just throw it on your credit card. Yeah. And as you throw it on your credit card, you don't want over 50% of your total credit used, or else it's actually bad for your credit score. But what other people don't realize too is, like, apply for as many credit cards the first time that you apply for a credit card, especially anywhere that has student, because it's very hard to get denied for a student credit card, because it's supposed to help build it, and a lot of the times you're going to get a very low credit line anyway. But the same day that you apply for one credit card, it runs a hard inquiry on your credit. You can run as many as you want that same day, and it doesn't affect your credit anymore. So it's like, if you apply for one credit card, apply for 10. Because don't necessarily use all 10, and make sure you can keep it in order, and then lightly use it. You don't want to pay off your credit cards completely at the end of the month. You want some revolving utilization. Like, you want to pay, if your max credit limit's $750, don't ever go over like $300 on the card, or otherwise that's a bad thing. But then when you pay it off, only pay off like $250 of the $300.
Yeah.
Because then even those interest payments that you're making are very small. And if you're a student, at the end of the 12 months, cancel it and apply for it again. because then you don't have interest again for a whole year. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I just did gas because you know you're gonna buy gas.
Yeah.
Just super simple, small purchases that you know you're gonna.
Exactly. Gas works. I mean, like, literally anything. But that's important, and that's not talked about enough. Like, nobody really sits you down in high school and is like, listen, you know, because honestly speaking, I prefer not to use credit cards. I prefer to just pay for things in cash and own them outright, because the thing is, when you don't rely on credit, which you almost have to in this day and age, you know, if you go buy a car, which I've actually bought my third car by myself since I've been 18.
Dang.
So it's like that credit helps you, because a lot of these kids are going to school and they don't even have any sort of credit. So they graduate, get that signing bonus, and then they get screwed on, you know, the 17% interest rate. Like, you got to have that under control beforehand. But, I mean, even more than that, if you're applying for somewhere for rent, you have to have credit. But the only two things I would ever finance are cars and houses, because most people can't save that. But if you're chilling at home with mom and dad, bank all that cash and then throw a fat down payment down for a house, you know. So, but that's my financial advice. But
there you go. Finance corner
for sure. No, I guess to answer the question, my confidence was built by really just pursuing what I liked, because I liked it for me. And these were the first things that it was like, okay, I don't care what you think. I'm doing this for myself, and that's what grows yourself. You know, if you're doing stuff for other people, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care, you know, if you're going to be a Navy SEAL, yeah, that's impressive. But if you're doing it for somebody else, you're not really growing, you know. You are, like, you get that experience, but, like, you got to do it for you. Because at the end of the day, the only person that you're ever guaranteed to live with for the rest of your life is yourself. And if you don't take the time to learn that person,
that's good.
I mean, you got to get to know yourself. There's a lot of little habits that when I was a kid, you know, my mom would be like, "Are you nervous?" "No, why?" "Well, because, you know, you saying you have an upset stomach. I've known you since you were a kid." And, like, I didn't pay attention to that. But it's like, when I started paying attention to, like, what my cues were to, like, cycle me into depression or whatever, because, like, I've dealt with that. I've not wanted to leave my room for, like, weeks at a time. But it's like, when you start learning yourself and, like, learning what your body does and how you react in certain situations, not only that, when you pay attention to it, you can prohibit yourself from doing it. Because it's like what happens for me, and I feel like this is the case with a lot of people. One night, you're just kind of overwhelmed. You don't feel like going out, so you say no. And then the next time you're like, yeah, I kind of had a good time the other night at home, so say no again. And then over time, people stop inviting you, and then it's like, why are people why are people inviting me? Do they not like me? But then that's more of it's a self-confidence thing, you know, because at the end of the day, like, you gotta be.
Yeah, I was talking with my friend about that literally today. Like, almost everything in life is gonna have a positive cycle or a negative cycle. Like that, like you were saying, if you just keep hanging out in your room by yourself, people just stop hitting you up, and then you're even further and you feel even lonelier, and then the cycle just continues. But with positive habits, it's the same way. If you work out, you're going to start feeling like your cravings are for better food. You start eating better too, and then you want to work out again.
I wouldn't say that. I have the absolute worst diet out of anybody. I mean, like, I eat a lot of fast food. Like, every meal.
But you also work out a lot.
Yeah. So it's like, but I totally
every time he calls me, he stops through the McDonald's drive.
Well, but
hold up.
That's more because of the fact that, like, I'm always on the move. Like what you were saying, like this morning, I had to get something on the way up to Indy because I didn't have time. You know, it's like I need my sleep. But I'm not going to wake up, and I'm never home. I'm either in Bloomington at work or I'm in Indy working.
Right.
So it's like I don't have time to, you know, take an hour and go to get groceries because I'm never home.
How much sleep do you get at night, do you think?
I mean, at this point, like, I got like 5 hours last night.
What do you think consistently, though?
I mean,
I really didn't know till I got my Fitbit.
I try.
It's sad.
I honestly try to get about 8 hours of sleep a night. I try to. That's my goal. I try to get 8 hours of sleep. It doesn't always happen, but I feel like sleep's very important. But the nice thing too is when I'm doing things that I care about, I don't care about the sleep. I'm just excited to get out of bed,
right?
And that's important.
Yeah.
Because it's like you don't need motivation. You need, and the thing too is like people who are trying to get out of depression, and there's some people who have legitimate biological chemical imbalances. That's not the same depression as like your everyday person can go through. That's different. That's clinical. So it doesn't work for everybody. But it's like people rely on and they wait for motivation to get things better. Motivation happens from a manifestation of your actions. You start doing these things like. think about the way anything grows, you know, how if I'm going in the gym and I'm half-assing it for, you know, I maybe go 2-3 times a month, like, well, yeah, the gym's not worth my time because I'm not putting enough time into doing it. It's the same thing with Sam and video. If he likes videos but he doesn't spend the time that he has when he gets home from work, how the hell is he going to get better at video? You know what I'm saying? But the fact that he's putting more time and energy into it, he's learning new stuff. He's like, oh, this is cool. This is so much better than what I was doing before. That's what motivates him, but he's got to do it the first time to begin with. And people are
going to
like,
mess it up like multiple times.
Yeah.
And then I'll do something cool, and then I'll show Brendan, like, just do this.
Right.
But the thing is, people have to. People have to realize, for every good video that I've made, I screwed up a bunch of other times. And I guess that's not always true, because sometimes, you know, you get your creative juices flowing, and I've knocked out some of the best videos that I've ever made in a very short amount of time. But, like, you'll hit those walls where you're like, damn, I don't feel like editing today, but you have to edit anyway, because then it makes it that much easier to say I'm not going to edit the next day, and then
that's the most important part, is doing something the time that you don't want to do it.
Exactly.
And daily, just every day. Just
because that's what separates, you know, the boys from the men from the boys. You know, it's like, if you know that you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway, like, you're committed to it.
Right.
But if otherwise, it's just a hobby.
And then it's like, I feel like it will get better the more times that you do it. Because then you're like, I don't want to do it, but I've done it. Like, you can remember the 5 times over the last year that you had the same exact experience, and then you did it. And it just becomes an easier, you're able to still have that thought of, man, I don't want to do this, but it's quicker to be able to go, I'm doing it still. And versus, fine,
and then
I'll do
not
it.
deciding.
Sure.
That's probably the worst state you can be in.
But,
It's just
like,
not even deciding if you're gonna do it.
To kind of link what you guys just said, because a lot of the times people do it because, like, they hate it. You know, there's something that they got to do but they hate. But it's like, and you were asking too, like, how I kind of got some of my confidence. It's like, when you enjoyed, or when you force yourself to enjoy doing things that you hate, you're like, well, shit, if I can do this, I can do anything. Like, I just did this, and I thought I didn't like this, but now I do. Like, I can do anything. That's the coolest. That's the times in my life that I felt that I've been growing the most, is when I don't even care. Like, I'm not closing my mind to it. I'm just like, you know what? I thought that I hated it, but I'm gonna give it a chance and see what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do it, and it doesn't matter how hard it is, because even if I get through it, like, I can get through it. If he can get through it, I can get through it. You know, if I can get through it, he can get through it. So it's like, when you put yourself in those positions where you're like, you know, I hate reading, but I'm going to force myself to read a book this month. And you do it. You're like, I thought I hated that. Now I kind of like it. You know, what else did I hate that I like? And that's when you want to grow. But it's hard for you to get yourself into that position. You know, it's hard for you to kind of let go of things and be like, you know what, I'm going to try this, and I don't care what anybody says. Like, that's tough to do, but just know you can.
Right. So when shit hits the fan, when things start going bad, what do people do for you that you really like, and what do you do for other people when they're having a tough time?
So I think each situation is different. I think typically my approach has changed a lot over the years too. So it used to kind of be more of a, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this. And what I've learned, especially with my best friend Luke, he used to do that to me all the time. And it's like, it was almost like he was criticizing me. And it's like, when he changed the way he approached things, it worked a lot better for me, until I realized one day, I'm like, he's like, well, this has worked for me, you know, maybe it would help you too. And then it's almost like, well, if it worked for him and shit's not working for me, like, maybe I should try it, because he presented it differently. So I kind of try to do the same thing for people, but for people who I'm super close with, because a lot of people that don't know me, I can come off as a dick. Like, I'm very analytical, I have a lot of, like, dry humor, and so I'll say things and people kind of assume I'm confrontational sometimes, but it's not ever really that. It's just like, when you actually get to know me, there's a lot more to me than I appear.
Yeah.
But anybody, I don't care who you are, like, if you need somebody to talk to about, like, serious shit, I'll be there. I'll sit down. I'd rather talk to you for 15 minutes than attend, you know, a 2-hour long obituary. You know what I'm saying? And, like, I feel like most of my friends know that. I try to make sure that all of them do, but sometimes people, you know, they just, they're in their own head. They're like, no, nobody cares. But, like, the people who I'm super tight with, like, I feel like, you know, if they have some shit that's pressing, like, I'll sit there, I'll listen, I'll talk them through it, you know. And that's that's what I can do. You know, I can't necessarily do more than that. But if somebody needs to just hang out with somebody, I'll be there too. I'll invite them to do something. Hey, you know, I know you just went through a rough breakup. Like, I'm going up to the Jack Harlow concert tonight. Like, why don't you come with me?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm shooting a music video. You want to come out? You want to get pictures, stuff like that. Just try to make people feel involved and included, and like try to distract them so they don't have to deal with what they're dealing with. You know what I mean?
I like giving people an excuse to like hang out with me.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you're not doing this. You could use some pictures anyways. Like
Yeah.
why don't you come with me? That I feel like really gets people back to their normal state.
But I also try to like give people their space in a healthy way. You know, definitely check in on them, but kind of play off of what
It
they.
just depends on the person.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Man,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But typically for me, that's what's helped me the most. I went through a pretty bad breakup after my freshman year of college, and my roommate had a landscaping business, and he would just get me working.
Yeah.
And I would just work, and I would start getting money, and I would be busy all day, and I was enjoying it, and it wasn't the most exciting thing, but like seeing the progress, seeing the growth, like it helped me really like grow as a person too, and get back to a very like confident state that I had lost for a while.
But it's like, I guess my thing too is I always let people know that their life is in their control.
You know, it's not out of your control. And if you live life like that, it's just kind of like you either make your life what you want it to. You know, everybody has dreams as a kid, but like if you don't pursue those dreams, that's all they are. But like you can do whatever you want to do, which is why it's like people make excuses for themselves, say, well, all day, but like they have the exact same decision-making skills that I have to do everything that I'm doing. You know, if people are envious about something, which I don't think a lot of people are. I mean, like my biggest critique on people in general is it's like you'll have legitimately like jealous people, and not necessarily of me, but you have people who are jealous of celebrities all the time, and they're like, oh, well, they just had things handed for them. Like they don't think that there's any sort of work that went into what they have, and like that kind of pisses me off. You know, like they have the same ability to get up and spend 4 hours on their passion before work and after work. Because I've heard so many people make excuses, well, I work a full-time job, you know, I don't have time to do that. Okay, well, you work a full-time job. That's an 8 or a 9-hour shift. There's 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
So you're telling me, let's give everybody, I'll say 10. Let's say people's full-time job takes 10 hours out of their day. What are you doing with the other 14?
Yeah.
An adult can sleep 6 hours a night and be healthy. Honestly, less. 6 to 8 hours is what's recommended.
Right.
And for adults, honestly, it'd probably be 4 to 6.
It just depends on the person.
So you're trying to tell me that you spent 10 hours at work, you have 14 hours left, you sleep for 6. What are you doing with those other 8 hours? Okay, you spend an hour and a half eating. You still have 6.5 hours left. You're trying to tell me you don't have time. You can't spend that 6.5 hours doing whatever you want. Like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't fly with me. But it's also an accountability thing. Like I feel like to truly be happy, you have to hold yourself accountable. You can't hold your hand. You have to be your hardest critic. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, this is good, but it's not good enough. Now you can appreciate what you've done. I'm not saying don't ever appreciate anything, because that's a very dull life. It's a sad life. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I can do this, but I can do more. Like, set dreams so big that like you go.
We're almost always like so head in the clouds of like oblivious to like reality, or so judgmental that you never appreciate like where you're at right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's like some people
totally
too,
agree.
that gets blown out of proportion as well, though. And that's the thing that I really hate about social media, because all of these people who don't even know what the hell they're doing with their lives, and that's fine.
Describe your video if you can over voice, because you know the one I'm talking about, where the chick's in the forest, like
Yeah. So it's like, it's social media anxiety is what it was. It's what it was about. And so I had this girl who was sitting in a forest, and it's like, I mean, that just in general, the vibe's kind of isolated. And as it goes forward, as the video goes forward, she has all these things that are like popping out. There's flashing Instagram likes. There's, you know, comments about power, stuff like that. I actually put the text, it's kind of hidden in there. It says, how many likes do I need to get for you to like me? And that's kind of hits back to the thing where kids in middle school now, like they're judging each other's popularity, not based off of their connections, but just off of like how many followers they have. And that's so toxic because people, and this is it's kind of screwed up too, because there will be people who I'll see who will go to parties just to take a Snapchat video to show that they're there and having a good time. Like they're noticeably not having a good time while they're there, but they just go because they want to show people. It's like, don't make social media an envious thing. Like that's why I don't hardly post anything on my story. I don't want people to know what I'm doing. I'm not doing it so I can post about it.
It just focuses yourself.
Exactly. I'm doing it because I want to. And it's like so many times people are living vicariously through other people's lives. Oh, I wish I could do that. Right. So instead of saying I can do that and going and doing it, you're just like, oh, I wish I could do that. And that bothers me. And I've talked to you about that, Sam, a lot. Like it's just choices. Yeah. You know.
What do you think's like a solution to like the social media problems or just general mental health? Like what's a solution?
Well, social media is not good for mental health at all. You have all these people.
Instagram deleted the likes. So now everything's solved.
Oh yeah, that's true. Instagram. No, but for real, it's like you seriously, and like I'm not saying I've done this. You look for, this has impacted relationships. Like you'll look for girls and you're like, oh, well, like she's got a negative ratio and she's cute. So like
what's a negative ratio?
Like she follows more people than follow her.
Oh, that's a thing. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's totally, because like a lot of people I dead ass know girls who will not date a guy or even talk to a guy if he has a negative following ratio. I'm not kidding. Dang. People are that pretentious, but it's like
I gotta work on my ratio.
No, for sure. And it's such a stupid thing to think about, because it's like you're actually prejudging a person before you even ever talk to them. And that's why it's like I feel like if I post about what I'm doing on social media, you know, if I go on trips and I post about it all over the place, it's like I feel like I almost start to do it just to post. And it's like I don't want that. I'm not a person who will sit there and tell you about what I'm doing and then not do it. Because I used to be that person, and I'm not that person anymore. Like I got so many different projects that I'm working on right now. I'm not gonna talk about it because I haven't done anything with it yet. Yeah. You know how many people I hear, oh hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but they don't do it. They just talk about it. It's like there's doers and there's talkers, and like I'm not.
Yeah. It's bizarre to me when like I'll see somebody who posts something on their story, but they don't save it. Like they take a picture, like a great picture.
Actually, that's so funny, because on Snapchat, so like I take, you know, you look through my Snapchat stories, I don't post any of these, but I'll save them. You know, I'll go somewhere cool. I just save it in my stories because it's for me. It's not for somebody else. Like this is at the Chase Tower, or not the Chase, the Salesforce, the top.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, it's a video, but it's not loading. But
that's tight.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Salesforce. Like that was one of my best friend's bachelor parties. You know, like I'll save on my story because like that was beautiful. It was Malibu. But it's for me, you know, and I feel like too often people they'll get down on themselves and they're like, well, you know what'll make me feel better? Someone else's approval. So they'll post a picture and like you don't really But the screwed up thing is like people don't realize that they actually do that. You know, I've done it. I'm not above anybody. Like I've totally done that, but I don't do that anymore. It's not like, oh, I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna post a picture, because then your happiness lies in someone else's validation. Like, how the hell are you gonna be happy if you need 100 likes? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Dude, I was on TikTok Live. I was watching this chick, and she was talking about, like, she wanted to make more, like, singing videos, and she took it down because it only got, like, 250 likes.
Yeah.
Felt
like,
cute.
Only later. And just, like, dude, it breaks my heart because that's what you want to create. But you won't because, like, it's just nuts. The other thing like reminded me of like the scenery and stuff like that. I vlogged every single day of like my month-long trip over in England and Scotland, and we were taking a bus to the English Channel like 2.5 hours away, and like we get on the bus and like we're starting to drive away, and I can't find my phone, and I'm like, oh shit, we're about to go to this legit castle, overlook the English Channel, and I can't find my phone, and it just hit me. I'm like, this is the only time I'm going to be able to see this. I'm not going to be able to take a photo. I'm not going to be able to, like, I can't remember it. I have to, like, be present in the moment. And I was just like, dude, this is how it's supposed to be, right? Like, you know?
Well, that's actually funny too, because it's the ironic thing is I like filming, but I hate filming because it's like we call them archive videos, and it's like the idea behind it too was, you know, we have a New York City themed drop, right? So we have a video that shows our New York City experience. Mm-hmm. And so the clothes that we make are a reflection of like actual experiences that we've had in these cities, which is dope to me. But then you have a video to watch, and I love that. Like, that's one of my favorite videos that I've ever made, because for my 21st, me and both of my business partners, actually, not Sam because I didn't know him at the time, and Adam Carandang, I don't know if you know him. Yeah. I didn't even know Adam that well. I met him one time. We all went to New York City and took an open door helicopter ride over the city for my 21st birthday. Wow. But it was more of like, I wish I could do videos like that all the time, but when I'm recording, I'm not enjoying the moment. Like, I want to be present in the moment. Yeah. I don't want to sit there and record everything, because it's like, I have cool footage afterwards, but like, I'd rather have the memory, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of times like, we get some really cool opportunities to go to some crazy events, and a lot of times I'll just for a couple moments, I'll put the camera down and just like try to embrace it as much as I can.
Well, it's like sometimes you forget to shoot too, but it's like, because you're like, you know, you're with it, you're enjoying the night, you're talking to people, and that's the way that things should feel. And I wish there was a way, and there's a healthy balance, and I haven't found it yet, because I have no desire right now to daily vlog, but it's like, there's a lot of really cool things, like when I think you missed it earlier, Khalid was like performing a song in here. No, but like the first time, where you weren't even in here the first time, I don't think, were you? Yeah, no, it was crazy. It was crazy authentic, and it was just like, I wish I had that on video, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like when you almost go over and record it, like, you don't act like yourself. You almost like...
Those candid videos are...
You act like, you know, you want to make something happen just because the video camera's recording. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I want to do something kind of interesting. I want your perspective on each other and over the last 3 months, because you guys are like kind of close. Like you mentioned a little bit about you've known each other for 3 months or so, and you've kind of got to know each other pretty well. Like, how have you seen each other grow and kind of point that out to each other?
Brendan, I don't think he fully recognized his full potential for leadership when he started, or at least when I met him. At the time, he had talked to Landon a little bit, and Plug, and he had worked with some of our other artists, but each time I'd see him with an artist or a client or somebody we were talking to, he'd be a little bit more confident, be like, hey, like, you should take a look at this idea. You should think about doing it like this. Yeah. And each time, like, that confidence grew, like, the ideas a lot of times would be better as well. And people just started listening. Mm-hmm. And it's really helped him grow as a person, and kind of, I think you understand yourself a lot more than you did even just a couple months ago. Because you've kind of had some stuff go on, and it's taken you down a little bit of a roller coaster.
For sure.
And those roller coasters are really what can help you, like, see yourself raw, like S-Log.
No, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, the craziest thing to me is, because like you talked about, like, I had some like personal stuff go on, like relationships, and like we came here one day, and it was like I was here, and I was extremely high functioning, like I was with it when I was here, and we you know, on the way home I was talking to him, I'm like, dude, like, I was like, I'm super depressed right now, and he's like, what? He's like right now? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, seriously? And I was like, yeah, why? And he's like, because you're like very high functioning, like, you know, and it's, do you remember that conversation?
I remember that. I'm not, I mean, I've been depressed, and I've had friends who have been depressed, and that's not normally how people respond to it. That's, but
it was just
so, it's obviously not always healthy, but that's a pretty great stress response.
Yeah, no,
I've ever heard of one.
Which is like, it's
like
like
knock stuff out.
The more, it was like I was here, and I was like, I'm just gonna focus my time and energy onto something. Like, I'm just gonna be here, like, in the moment. And so it's kind of dope, because it helped me. I mean, I've seriously, like, I was at this point before, but now it's better because I have all the experience that I've had, you know, from like going up and down and stuff like that. But to kind of talk about Sam, it's like, when I first met him, it's actually funny because I managed 2 artists. One of them's name is Carte Carter, which you just met, and the other kid's name is Lucas Lex. 16-year-old kid, ridiculously talented. He only has 3 songs out on Spotify, and he's doing like 35,000 monthly listeners with 3 songs. And so I was managing him with like the girl that I was dating her, and then we split off, and that was actually a really weird day too. Yeah, but Sam, this man sent, he messaged the management email. He's like, hey, I'd love to come down and get some behind the scenes footage. Never met this guy before in my life. So I'm going there, and I'm kind of in a weird spot because of the whole, the girl situation going on, and I was like, yo, just get some cool stuff. And then we kind of hit it off there, but he didn't really know a lot of stuff about video, like at all. Like, I mean, he took video, but he didn't, I'm not saying he didn't know what he was doing, but he didn't know as much as he does now. And it's like, he was kind of, hey, what do you think? But beyond that, he didn't get paid, and he drove from Carmel, which for those of you guys who are listening to this who aren't familiar with Indiana, that's the very north side of Indianapolis. He drove from Carmel down to Bloomington, which is about an hour south of Indy. So it's a good, hour and a half.
Yeah, bro, and I didn't know what this was going to be like. This kid is in high school. Like,
I
didn't know if this was going to be like...
So Sam shows up, you 23?
Yeah, I'm 25, bro.
Oh, so Sam's 25. He was 24 at the time, but Sam's 24 and drives down to shoot a video with a kid that's in high school, and he's not expecting anything.
Like, are they gonna try to ask me to get him alcohol or something? Like, what is this thing? But I liked the music, and I really believed in the kid. I didn't even know. I actually followed Brendan and knew about him before, but I didn't know that he was involved with Lucas Lex at all.
Yeah.
That kind of showed me the commitment, like what he was going to do. And it was like from there, he was like, hey, like, how do I get better at this? Like, how do I get better at this? And like, I never had somebody come to me after, because we would shoot, and like, there was a thing that I was doing for Landon, and we kind of screwed it up, and I brought him along without asking, essentially, and somebody didn't get their ticket, so we bought a ticket just so that person could get in or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I kind of put my relationship with Landon on the line just to bring him along, because I was like, dude, he wants opportunities to shoot. Like, I'm going to try to provide that for him. And he came to me, he's like, hey, man, I noticed you're not really using a lot of my footage. He's like, what can I do to be of more value? And at that point, I was like, damn. Like, he really just wants to get better. And that's why it's like, his work right now is not at the potential that it's going to be, but it's still way better than the stuff that he was making 3 months ago. So, I mean, beyond just the video growth, too, like, when I first met him, he had a girlfriend, and, he realized one day that he didn't see that he was going to be with her in the long term, and completely cut it off, and now he has more time, because he always...
The same day.
Do what?
Realized it in the same day.
But the big thing with that is, when Sam and I would shoot, he'd never make excuses for not being there, but he'd always have to go and obviously hang out with his girlfriend. She was, a full-time student, so they didn't have any time during the week because their schedules were conflicting. So the weekend time, which is when I could shoot, because I had the same schedule as his girlfriend, kind of had to choose, like, do I want to shoot or do I want to hang out with my girlfriend? And he chose this, and it's like, that's crazy to me, because it's like, to not only realize that, but to act on it, because like, not everybody acts on stuff like that. And I mean, that's just, it kind of speaks for itself, like, you got to help yourself before you can help other people. So
that's good. Well, we're gonna wrap up. We've got the fun 5. This is the last 5 questions. You both answer this, and as best detail as you can. So number 1, you get to go to dinner with anyone in the world that's alive. Who do you go with?
You want to start with that, or you want me to?
You start.
Personally, it would probably be A$AP Rocky.
Ah, gosh dang it. That's what I was going to say.
You both can go.
So my
literally
thing,
what.
Okay, then I'll choose
somebody else.
I'll choose Drake. But A$AP Rocky.
You can take Aubrey
or
go
Drake.
Ahead.
And here's the reason. And I'll kind of give a very brief, because like, obviously we're wrapping it up. But
no, you're good.
A$AP, I've been a fan of his visuals for a long time. He is extremely inspiring. Like, the thing to me is he was able to create a brand that really emphasized visuals, because for the longest time, artists didn't give a shit about how their visuals looked, and he really pushed that. So like, for me being a videographer, like, that's huge. I love his music. Like, honestly, I'm a huge fan. Like, that would be the one person besides Drake. And my thing with Drake is, like, he has been at the top for so long, and it's just like,
he's the artist of our generation.
How do you, like, he doesn't really make bad music, and it's like, what are you doing? You know, like, how are you putting the time into that? Like, how many bad songs do you have that no one's heard? Or is it just, have you perfected your craft to the point where you just can lay it down? You know, that's kind of what, not only that, but, like, how do you keep your people loyal? Like, how do you keep, you know, just the whole process? Like, those are questions that, like, you know, I don't care that he has LaFerrari. I don't care that any of that. It's just more of, like, his circle. It's so tight. Yeah. He puts his people on. He keeps his people there. Like, Party Next Door, one of the artists that signed under his label, like, he fell off for years, and then he's coming back. Drake just did a song with him again. So it's like, that's me. But go ahead and answer that.
No, I was going to say A$AP as well. Just love his music. He touches, like, every part of the brain that, like, is important. He's kind of changed the way that artists can represent themselves.
Yeah.
Like, he said, hey, I can do fashion. Hey, I can do anything I want.
Where'd you go to eat?
Where would I go to eat? Okay, well, I just ate Five Guys, so...
You taking Drake to Five Guys?
No, I just said I just ate Five Guys, so I'm not full, so it's hard for me to think. But I would probably, from the places that I've been, I would say Little Zagreb's downtown in Bloomington. It's ridiculously nice steak. And those are the places that I've been to. Like,
I'd probably go to, like, Tegri. I'm just feeling sushi right now.
Oh, okay.
Tegri's good.
That's fair, but...
The A$AP video that I just remembered was the one that folds. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like, gang, and it, like, keeps folding.
A$AP Forever. A$AP Forever, yeah.
Oh, I love that song, just because of the visuals.
Exactly, but it's like, the thing that's cool is people don't necessarily like his music, or, like, it's not their favorite.
Yeah.
But they love his visuals, and, like, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's extending your brand far along enough to where it's like, you don't necessarily have to like the musician, which he makes music, to like the musician, which is crazy. But
what's your favorite underrated movie or TV show?
Easily. I'm gonna do movie and a TV show.
Yeah,
so my favorite underrated movie is Hot Rod. It's so stupid. It's funny. Every time I watch it, there's another just ridiculously dumb scene that makes me laugh. My favorite underrated TV show, there's actually probably three. It's a tie between the three of them. White Collar, I don't know if you've ever seen that. Prison Break, and Californication.
I haven't seen any of those.
Californication,
but I know what they are.
All three of them all got taken off of Netflix. But I promise you, if you watch, Californication is probably one of my favorite shows of all time. It's just like, it's an amazing story about a writer who just like can't keep his life together, and you know, when I don't know, you just gotta watch it.
Yeah.
All right, so for TV show, I'd say Freaks and Geeks.
Ooh, okay.
You guys ever heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
That's where like all of the a lot of the major actors of today were in it. Like Seth Rogen was a part of it. Paul Rudd was in it. I think.
Franco.
Franco was in it.
Yeah, that's a great show. And then for the movie, the one that just came to my head was Scott Pilgrim Against the World.
Ooh, okay.
Ramona Flowers, baby.
Yeah, because we just shot Ramona Flowers. That's actually what reminded me of it.
Yeah, we shot a video for an artist based out of San Diego named Joey Trapp, and the dude has like 1.3 million monthly listeners on Spotify.
Right now. What's the next month?
But but we shot that, in the song's titled Ramona Flowers, and she's one of the characters in Scott Pilgrim. So
travel back to any time in history and live.
Honestly, it kind of depends on what the goal is, like what the objective is, because I would say like I'm big into entertainment, so I would say I like basketball a lot. Probably go back to like 96, 97.
Yeah.
Watch Michael Jordan.
Like be your age
for entertainment.
In the 90s?
Yeah. I mean, not even necessarily that. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Just experience that, because like I really like basketball, and it was super hardcore and gritty, and it was like in the mid 2000s. It was very not a respected sport, because Malice at the Palace, all that stuff. So it was still respected, but super rough in the 90s, and so. Now, if we're talking just to learn about stuff, I don't know if I could pick that. Just learn about some of the history of America or the world. Like, I couldn't even pick that.
Yeah. But I think it'd be kind of cool to go back and hang out with my parents when they were my age. I don't know what year that would be for either of them. But
Yeah. Would you like tell them like I'm your kid? I'm just like I have
I'm
a
your
time,
kid.
I'm a time machine. Like I am hanging out with you. I don't know. Like
No, I'd want to see if it would naturally happen. Like,
oh,
you think we'd naturally like be friends with our parents? I don't know.
oh wow, that'd be kind of sick. What if they like
I'm
hate?
curious.
you?
Yeah.
Like,
Like, what if
I'm
we were like
never-
enemies?
Yeah.
Don't know. That'd be nuts.
What's your favorite moment of 2019?
Honestly, I can't really pick one. I have so many. And that's like, there's not one specific thing, because it's like, I really don't feel like I've done much yet. You know, like I really don't.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've done a lot of cool things. Like I went to New York City again in February, or no, it was early February with one of my best friends who had never been in New York City before, and that's his favorite city in the world. I did that. I went out to LA and I was on set for a cool music video. We got to use a Red camera and chill in Malibu.
Oh, yeah.
That was dope. I mean, we threw a few weekends ago an album release party for that artist that I managed. Like, I mean, those are all crazy, but I mean, there's so many little things I'm appreciative
That's
of
nuts.
too. So,
I think my favorite might have been my trip to Canada,
What part?
Montreal.
Oh, that's sick.
I was looking through some of my old pictures,
Oh.
just trying to see what I did this year. Like, I've been so in the moment lately.
All right. What is your favorite part of yourself?
okay, mine.
How
now-
do you know these so fast? This
Because
makes
I-
me sick.
No, like I've thought about.
I think about this stuff a lot too.
Yeah, my favorite part about myself is it's like when there's a problem, I automatically assume that it's because of me. Like the first person I'm blaming is myself, and that's led me to be accountable and also like stay grounded. Like when you know, like what you were saying earlier, when shit hits the fan, when you're pointing fingers at yourself first, like that's when things get solved, because there's either really a problem with the way that somebody else is doing it, and you can evaluate them and be like, listen, they don't get it, I'm not the problem. So it helps you separate yourself from that person,
Yeah.
or you know, you fix yourself. So that's
Right.
my favorite part about and just the drive that I've been able to find and allow myself to kind of connect all of these different hobbies and passions that I've had over the time.
I'm thankful I've always been willing to grow. I'm willing to develop myself personally and take feedback and try to get better every day.
So yeah, I'm thankful for that, but I have not always been able to do that. That's something that I hadn't unlocked until 4 years ago. So
Yeah. Sick. So this is the very last part. You're going to pick a person, significant other, family member, best friend, whatever. Shout them out, encourage them. You're going to be like, hey, Janice, thanks so much for what you did in high school, whatever. You've inspired me. You know, whatever you want to do, but take as much time as you want. Pick a person and just thanks, XYZ, you know.
So I guess I'll just go, you said person, but I'll go with my parents. I really, to think about all of the things that they used to tell me, and just the disagreements that we had, and really the fact that the way that they raised me allowed me to be the way that I am today. That's cool to me, you know? 'Cause it's like knowing how I turned out, I hope that I'm able to raise my kids the same way, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's I like where I am, I'm comfortable with what I am, and the fact that I'm constantly trying to improve on stuff, and I just hope that I can kind of guide my children or whoever the same way, because that's dope, you know?
Yeah.
We got into so many disagreements, but it's that all of those things allowed me to be the person that I am today, so I guess I'm super appreciative of that. So
Shout
I'd
out.
say my sister. She always just set a good example for me, and I always kind of had my back, just whatever I was going through. She's always ready to talk, very easy and approachable to hang out with. So and a lot of times I take for granted. That's the thing. So I want to give her a shout out.
Sweet.
yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having us on. We both really appreciate it. I know.
Thanks.
Plug your stuff if people want to check you out. If you
Yeah,
want.
so first thing, we'll plug our business, Archive Collective. It's at Archive Collective Co. on Instagram. Our website's archivecollective.co. My personal Instagram, I'm not going to list my personal, but my photography Instagram, that's not the business one, is FilmShotSB. FilmShotsB. It's actually not Film Shots B because my name's Brendan, so people assume it's Film Shots B. It's Film Shot SB. But I just figured I'd mention that because so many people get that wrong. But
And then mine is Sync Video. So that's SYNCVIDEO.
for sure.
Sweet. Thanks so much, guys. It means the world, kind of for you to be a part of this and just sharing your story. Because
This has been fun.
Yeah.
I like
no,
this.
It has been fun.
This
I
has
feel
been
like
therapeutic.
it's been
Yeah.
super productive too. Like it's
yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Hey everybody, this is Ryan from the Classic Buffalo Podcast. Wanted to take a second to talk about Anchor, how I'm actually making this podcast happen. Super happy that I'm partnering with them. So, Anchor is actually the easiest way to make a podcast. I've done my research. This is basically the best way. I promise. It's going to give you everything you need in one place for free, which is the best part. It's going to have tools, so you don't really need a fancy schmancy recording guy. Anchor's going to be helping you out there, and then they're going to distribute the podcast everywhere to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, everything. And then you can also make money with basically no minimum listenership, which is kind of rare. So hop on Anchor as soon as you can. Thanks. So I just got done hanging out with the boys, Sam, Rowan, and Brendan Baar. Shout out to you guys. It's been like kind of a little present to myself, their friendship and getting to know them. Anytime I do like kind of pop-ups over the last 6 months, they've been there and getting to hang out with them. And then also hanging out outside of that, like we got to thrift together, and they not only is it just kind of like a very surface level relationship, but they're two dudes who are going for what they're passionate about. And I can't stress the importance enough of finding similar people to that in your life that are either going for the same thing in your own industry that you want to do, or just they're trying to do their own thing. It's motivating, period. Having those types of people in your life are very important, and that's like kind of like it should be pretty high on your priority list if you're looking for things to make your life a little bit better in 2020. So find your own Sam and Brendan. What really just absolutely floored me was how much Brendan is driven to like grow and become an entrepreneur and to hustle, like the hustle culture, and just how, it kind of, it's very common for an entrepreneur to, maybe lack on food or sleep. It's pretty common. Maybe not the best. Like if you're cooking on all cylinders, you have that also figured out. But for him to be driving and commuting from Martinsville or, that area, be going to school at IU and driving to Indy to do like filming and networking, and just to be so pot committed to all of this stuff. It's just, I thought it was at IUPUI, just in downtown, but for him to be commuting so much and to be just making the sacrifices that he's making at like early 20s, that guy's like absolutely just going for some crazy things in his life. And so I'm so excited for where him and the Archive Collective are headed. Sam, he just believes the best in other people. I really appreciate that. It's pretty frequent if you were hanging around Sam for him to mention someone else. It's like, yeah, I mentioned him or mentioned you to him. Like that you. He likes to point out the best in other people, and he likes to kind of take maybe a shitty situation and see what's the best parts of it, and he's made sacrifices, and that's just kind of cool for someone who's around my age, a little bit older, just to see he's still doing that 9 to 5, but also doing the film stuff, like pursuing his side passion in his off time. That's kind of what we have to do if we want to make it a full-time career, is use that 5:30 p.m. to 12 at night to network, to work on our side hustles, wake up a little bit earlier, use the weekends. So, and they also touch on a lot of really cool things. Building up confidence through content is a very good recommendation. Unfortunately, we're in a culture that is in social media where if we want to try something out, we're afraid to even start because if we fail, it's going to be public. And you have to find a way to get over that because, for my vintage indie, that's almost 6,000 followers, and that started 2.5 years ago. But, that is one of the biggest and best parts of my life, and it's how I've met so many people, including Sam and Brendan.
But like how I've met most of my friends, how I've had made a lot of money, how I've like, it's been such a blessing, but it came from such a tiny like thought. And even Classic Buffalo, like, what if I just started recording a podcast, of just interviewing people? I don't have to have a podcast studio. I go to a park and record. And that was the first episode with Gracie. Or what if I just, just did this, or, and next thing you know, I have Vintage Indie and I've been on TV for it. And, Classic Buffalo, back in college, I got my clothes. The Classic Buffalo merch was in Taylor University's bookstore, or a newspaper covered what I was doing. And, there's just all these like little really cool things that can happen if you're just like, what if I just did this really tiny step? And, it's just a shame that sometimes social media can keep you from trying to experiment with stuff. But ultimately, as you've probably heard over past podcasts or like episodes of just like the pain that you might suffer from not going for it, like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to not go for your passion, your dream? Worrying about what someone you may not even know and their opinion, that's something you have to wrestle with. And also, I really loved like kind of the yes men culture, of always surrounding yourself with yes men. And that there's some psychological term on it of cognitive dissonance. I'm guessing that's what it is. I can't remember, but feel free to comment what it is. But just how we consistently like to surround ourselves with people, friends, family, just people who like completely agree with what we do. And it's uncomfortable to be around a Democrat when you're a Republican, or a pro-life when you're abortion. Like there's in these hot button issues, maybe gun laws is probably another one, but like when you're in those issues and you're one way to interact with someone who's of the opposite belief, it can get pretty heated sometimes because a lot of people don't know how to handle conflict in a healthy and responsible way as an adult. Shocker. A lot of us are still childs, but we look like adults. That's kind of, as turning 26, I'm starting to realize that's a lot more common than you think. But the key is to consistently try and put yourself out of a comfort zone, because things like Vintage Indie, things like Classic Buffalo, things like Archive Collective can be formed when you take a tiny step towards maybe your passion. It can just takes a tiny little step. So I encourage you to do that thing, and maybe hide stuff, start creating content. One of the things that I did twice now was creating content before I even post and let people know that I'm doing it. I did it with Goodwill Hunting, Indiana, because I knew like I was going up against that obstacle of like, what if I fail? And I say, hey, here's the first episode. And then like, I never make a second or third or fourth. So I knew if I had already created like, I don't know, like 8 episodes, 6 episodes, or like a month or two's worth of content ahead of time, and then like started publishing it, I could get real-time feedback. And then I was kind of pot committed. So it's like, well, I don't want to be the guy who kind of gave up halfway. So, and then, next thing I know, I've been to every Goodwill in the entire state of Indiana. And then next thing you know, I'm trying to aim for 1 year's worth of podcasts, which I'm, I know I can do it, getting at least 52 people. Well, it'll be more than that. I haven't really done exactly the math on how many 1 years of content, but I'm going to do it. So that'll be a 2020 goal, is to do 1 year's worth of podcasts. So, but, it's been a lot of fun, and, super pumped for those guys, Sam and Brendan, both just 2 solid guys, hard workers, nice guys. They believe the best in others and really want other people to succeed, even if it takes brutal honesty. So find those people if you can. Stay alive till next time. We'll have an episode on Thursday. I love you. We'll talk soon, or I'll talk and hopefully you'll listen, and then DM me on Instagram if you want to be on the episode, if you want to be on the pod. I love doing 2 people if you want to, and kind of get that feedback kind of section. That's always a fun time, kind of like what they did and what we've done in past episodes with multiple people. But if it just wants to be you, if you want to talk about dogs, if you want to be on and talk about sports, mental health, suicide, whatever you want, like, let's get on and let's talk about it. So DM me on Instagram at Classic Buffalo. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon.